Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the FYR Podcast. I'm your co-host, Michael Wright. And like I say every week, across from me, as always, is the man you came to see, the legendary Mr. C.T. Fletcher. Pops, we got another big show for him this week. You ready for this one?
I am so ready. I might even shit on myself. I don't know.
We don't want you to do that. So let's go ahead and jump into the show before you shit
I'm
on
old.
yourself.
Old people shit on themselves all the time.
You old, but you ain't that old yet.
That depends.
Not yet, Pops. Not yet.
All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are thrilled to have a legend with us, known as the Sultan of Symmetry. Mr. Wheeler has carved out a remarkable career in bodybuilding. He has won the prestigious Arnold Classic a record 4 times, 1993, 97, 98, and 2000, making him one of the most decorated bodybuilders in history. His incredible symmetry, strength, and dedication have also earned him multiple titles at the Ironman Pro, Night of Champions, and the France Grand Prix. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FYR Podcast, the one and only, the legendary Mr. Flex Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler, how you doing today, sir?
Great, absolutely great. It's an honor. You know, me and Pop's been talking about doing this since before podcasts are out, man. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So is this the first time you didn't have him on your original show? Okay. All right. So this is the first. So we got a lot to jump into, Mr. Wheeler. So as I was researching you were born in Fresno, California, which is not too far from me. I was born and raised in Bakersfield. So,
is that right?
Yeah, born and raised.
To hear that, man. I'm sorry to hear you was raised in Bakersfield.
Hey. Now, ain't gonna be no Bakersfield slander going on out here now. My parents are still there. I'm not gonna say I call it home, but so I didn't realize you were that close in Fresno. So let's start there. What was growing up in Fresno, California like for one Flex Wheeler?
You know, I mean, it was colorful. Man, it was colorful. It was difficult times back there. You know, it was right when the Crips and the Bloods, jumped off. So you just had, different blocks just start, beefing. And it didn't matter if you were kinfolks or not, if you lived on the wrong block. So it was just, it was some rough times. Everybody on my block was on welfare. So, it was, but hey, regardless of the ups and downs, it laid the blueprint for me to be who I am now. And so, I always say you got to take the good, the bad, the ugly. You can't change anything because you change one of the aspects of that, then it changes you as a person.
Yep. So I know you did. When did you start martial arts? Was that early on in your childhood, right? Or when did you start jumping into martial arts?
I started when I was 7. I started. It was back when we had recreational centers.
Yeah.
I started there, so it was free. Actually, he was supposed to be 9 years old, but I remember his name still. Robert Halliburton. He allowed me to train anyway, and it started by they used to show movies, every once in a while, and they showed, Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, buddy.
And I just, after that, everybody was kicking and fighting after, and they started, free martial arts lessons, and I just got bit, man. I just fell in love with it. I was just, man, hands and feet and everything all in.
Right. So you wanted to be Bruce Lee?
I just wanted to learn to protect myself because I got beat up almost every day, on my block, whether it was from my brothers or sisters or some kids down the street. I just got my ASS handed to me on a daily basis. So, it was just a way of trying to just learn how to defend myself, at the time.
So we all know about the physical things you learn with martial arts. How did the martial arts shape you mentally?
Yeah, it's as I got older, before I started going hard into bodybuilding, I met my last trainer, Ty McGuire, and I owe my entire career of fighting and bodybuilding to him. he was at a rival school, and I was in police academy at the time.
Okay.
And one of his business partners took the night school, so I would see him as we left, and we would talk, and he would tell me about, you know, his school and how great his partner was and how great of a kicker he was. And I'm like, no, that's me. You know, I own that type. You know, nobody can outkick me. And he invited me to the school. And back then, as you remember, CT, you know, if you got invited to somebody's school, they would have you fight different level guys to understand where you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So just me and my just ruthless self back then, I just ran through everybody, slamming them, stumping them. You know, I only knew one gear, and it was hard. So, you know, afterwards, he was really soft-spoken, and he was like, hey, you know, let me, you know, why don't we move around a little bit? And he just touched me everywhere, you know, just touched me. And it was so embarrassing because every touch I knew was a knockout because I couldn't even see it. Just handed me, touched me everywhere. So you got to understand, you know, the control you got to have to be able to throw a technique at such lightning speed that you can't even see it, but they can pull back and just barely touch you with it. Absolutely. And I just ran out of the place afterwards, man. I was so pissed. I felt so disrespected. And, you know, I seen his business partner a couple of days later. I was like, yeah, man, dude disrespected me. And he's like, really, man? You think he disrespected you? You know, won't you go back and talk to him? So I went back and talked to him, and he was like, really? He goes, you the one who beat all my students. You know, you're slamming and kicking them. All I did was touch you, you know, and you think I'm the bad guy. Yeah. But he really just really molded me. He's only about 5 years older than me, but he might as well have been 50 years as far as maturity and everything else. Yeah. He just really helped with my mindset. He's very, very militant. Like now, he still has a school, actually in Bakersfield. He has a school in Bakersfield.
Oh, really?
And you know, his lessons now is, you know, he also takes the kids out, teach them how to, you know, in the wilderness, how to survive, how to make the water, bad water out of good water, you know, how to shoot, how to fight, how to grapple, all those things. So he rounds all those things in it. So me at a young age, I just sucked it all in, you know, and he would call me like at 3:00 in the morning, like, you know, let's go train. And I knew if I said no, I was going to get a beating when I showed up, you know, that night. So I would just say, yeah. So I just really learned just the discipline of training really hard when there was no eyes on you. And that really carried me through to everything to now. Everything that I deal with now, it just really helped to set my mind to, you know, on life, on what I was going to go through. And that was one of the things, you know, that he told me later on. You know, I would always ask, why do you always make me cry? You know, you always beat me down in school in front of everybody. And he would never answer me. He would just give me a philosophical answer like, you should know it, you know, or whatever. And finally one day, man, I'm like in tears. I'm like, man, why, man? I'm like, man, we boys, you know, we travel everywhere. We hang out, man. But when we get to school, you like different. And he just looked at me and he goes, you don't understand? I go, no. And he goes, it's because I want you to be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Anything in life. And you know, that's just the type of person he was. And that really that set my alter ego in bodybuilding. You know, I created this Flex Wheeler character, you know, out of just fear of being scared, because Kenny Wheeler, remember, always got beat up.
Yeah.
You know, the Flex Wheeler guy who could fight and get down and everything like that. So, you know, I just kind of created this alter ego, and that just set the tone for me going forward.
The alter ego, did you ever get to a point where it was hard to separate Kenneth from Flex Wheeler, or did you always have control over that? And I asked that question because I remember Deion Sanders talking about that, how he created the primetime gimmick, but it got to a point where those lines started to kind of blur each other. Was it the same for you?
Nah, just Flex took over. There was no Ken Wheeler. It was just like he was like in just a little corner. He was just a little timid guy that just never came out. It was just I started believing in my own hype. I started believing in my own lies. I started believing in my own life, and you know, it just really took over. I was just I was a case. I was I was a mental case. I remember people would tell me like, you know, your aura gets here like an hour before you arrive.
Man.
That's how much, you know, full of yourself you are. I remember even my boys, Rico and Chris, they wouldn't even hang out with me, you know, if it wasn't training. You know, cardio, they'd go and do cardio by yourself. Like, nah, man, you too mental. You know, you too quiet. You know, you just focused all the time. I was like, what are you supposed to be? You know?
Why you being quiet or being mental? Looking back on it, do you think that was a detriment to you early on, just as focused as you were? And I'm thinking, I asked that because normally focus and having that mental capacity is a good thing, but it seemed like it might have affected you on the different end of that.
No, I just never can come out. You know, now I understand that you have to have a life.
Yeah.
And that sport or whatever you're devoting your life to is only momentary. That window will close. And I just didn't understand. I was just all in, you know, just eating, sleeping, training. Yeah, I'd train, we'd train, and I just would just be angry driving all the way home, like, how am I going to beat that train? And I'd go to sleep and I would dream about training literally. And I'd wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, have my first meal, go back to sleep, wake up again, have my next meal, and then drive an hour to Venice to train. So I was just mental. But again, and it was like I was always in fight mode. And when I was with Ty training with him, I was the nicest guy, but we put on gloves and I was just like it was a switch that would click. And I couldn't click that switch on in school. I couldn't fight hard. I couldn't fight the other students hard, but it became that we've been in a tournament. It's like I didn't know you. You know, I didn't know you. I would brainwash myself that if you're standing in the ring, you believe that you can beat me. And I would literally stand there and get angry and infuriated with my opponent, you know, think like they should leave. Wow, they really think they can beat. And that's the way I just like brainwashed myself. And I did the same thing in bodybuilding. I was like, man, you know, these people who have a regular life, they're crazy. You know, you know, and I reversed, you know, the polarity that, no, I was the one who was really crazy because I just ate, sleep, and trained that, and everybody else went and had a normal life. But I wouldn't go to the movies. I wouldn't go to the store. I wouldn't do anything. If it wasn't eating or training or competing or guest posing, I wouldn't about it.
But is that part, having that mindset also was very beneficial to you being as amazing as you were in bodybuilding, though, right? Isn't that the mindset you need to have?
Yeah, definitely. But it's, you know, it needs to be a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
And now, like, you know, me and Ronnie talk, and I'm like, man, you know, you remember this battle? He goes, no, man. And like, I can't remember no battles against nobody on stage because I was so focused. And even he said the same thing. He goes, man, I can't remember because right after that show, I would say, okay, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to be afraid of me next week. You know, they're coming after me next week. They don't care if I won the Arnold this week. Yeah. I got a show next week. So I would give myself like one day, just that Saturday, you know, to eat and feel great. And that Sunday, I would then turn around and brainwash myself and just get so angry. Like, how do I beat this? How do I beat that person? And I slowly go back into it. So it's, you know, it's, I guess the bad part about it is I don't remember nothing, and it was a beautiful life. It was a very amazing time in our sport. You know, a lot of people say it was the heydays of a sport, and I just don't remember. You know,
but like I always say, greatness can never be achieved without obsession, and that's exactly what you were, obsessed. Ronnie was obsessed. And as a young fella, I was obsessed as they fucking come. And I think in order to be what you were, that obsession was absolutely a necessity to be. You know, you can be, you can come in, you know, runner up, second, whatever, you know, that's. But you came in with the mindset, I know you're not going to beat me. After every training session, you're like, how am I going to outdo that one? It's because, you know, you knew when you showed up on contest day, that nobody there had worked harder than you had worked. Nobody fucking there had wanted that shit as bad as you want. That's why you can say, which one of you motherfuckers is coming in second?
It's so interesting to hear you talk, and knowing this man for as long as I've known him. It's so, even though, you know, he was more in the strength world, you're in bodybuilding, the mindset is so similar.
Yeah.
This man has talked about, and there's videos of it. He didn't care if it was a birthday, anniversary. He didn't care what it was. Nothing came before getting into that gym and training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's true. You know, you have to have an obsession. You have to be able to, you know, turn this switch on. You have to be able to have like a focus. Like it was no Christmases, there was no birthdays. You know what I mean? And I had kids, so they were very young, so it was really difficult because I couldn't really be a father to them. You know, because I was so focused on, you know, Flex Wheeler and just competing with myself and competing with everybody else. You know, so I had to play a lot of catch up after I retired.
So let me ask you, speaking of that obsession, and you talking about being a father, how did that affect your relationship with your children when you were going through that stage of obsession and nothing else mattered to you but training, competing, and being Flex Wheeler?
Right. So my first daughter I had when I was super young. I didn't see her that much. My son, my first son, it was from my first marriage. And we had got divorced, so I had left Fresno and moved to LA.
Okay.
And later on, I ended up getting married. So Darius and Nia grew up with me throughout that entire time. So they came to every show and all that stuff. But it was just, I wasn't fully there. Like now I got an opportunity, you know, when I retired, I had an opportunity. I had, you know, my last daughter who's 16 now. And it was just completely different.
Yeah.
You know, I was fully hands-on, changing a diaper, you know, the whole thing, just spending so much time with her. So it was like, wow, it was so different. And I missed that part, you know, with my other kids. But, you know, thankfully, you know, they understand. And now we talk about it like, no, we understand, you know, we get it, you know, and when they walk around or they with me and people want to take pictures or whatever, you know, they kind of snickle and everything like that because now they're old enough to be aware of, you know, what I done.
Yeah. Do you, looking back on it, and you say you don't remember a lot from that era, but are you at the point in your life where you realize the impact that you had on people, not just the bodybuilding industry, but just people in general? Have you grasped that yet about how influential you actually were in bodybuilding?
No, you know, for some reason, I just won't. I won't allow myself to realize that you know, so many as I was. You know, I was one of those guys. Big money take little money. You know, big bank take little bank.
Yep.
You know, I was so full of myself that even now I can't even watch a video of me talking back then or training because I was like, wow, just the arrogance. I just couldn't even stand my own voice. So I'm so opposite of that now, and I don't want even a glimpse of it. So I won't even allow myself to realize that stuff because I just never want to become that guy where I just think I'm it. So what I'm aware of is everybody has their own opinion. And, you know, some people's opinion might be that I was, you know, something good to them, and some people's opinion may be that I wasn't. You know, the truth is I'm both. I'm whatever it is to them.
Yeah.
And I just accept that. You know, I just accept that. You know, there's some people that would literally, it's some neighborhoods I can go to right now where I came from. And the first thing they would do, they'd love just to kill me, you know, just period, just to say, hey, I'm the one who killed them. Mm-hmm. So I'm aware that there's just different feelings about me, and one isn't wrong. That feeling that person have is really, you know, their feeling. So no, I try not to get caught up in it at all. I'm really bad with taking compliments.
Man, I feel the same way. But looking back, Flex, now on this internet age, I see so many people have opinions of yourself, Ronnie, and they talk like they actually know you, and their opinion is so, oh no, yeah, this is absolutely, yeah, this is like it's a fucking fact. But and they have never met you in person, but they have their opinion is so strong that they talk like they a fucking family member. When I see oh man, I gotta tell you, and if I see somebody say something about you or Ronnie, because both you guys are my friends, woohoo! I don't now if they say something about me, I fuck it, I don't care. But they can't say shit about you. They can't say shit about you or not around me. And so Big Ron, what I like about Ronnie is when they ask him, and they got all type of opinions, but then when they ask him, he says he wouldn't change a fucking thing except he would have squatted 800 for some more reps. I need to ask you, my brother, do you have any regrets?
My only regret is like I said before, I was just so focused. I didn't have time to slow down and smell the roses. I just if it was like I'm good and ready for one show, then okay, great. That show's over. Now it's time for them to make gains because again, ain't nobody gonna be scared of me.
Yeah,
they're trying to take my head off. So it's just I didn't enjoy any of it. And now I see a lot of the guys they're truly enjoying the journey. Like there was a time we were in Rome, we were competing, and they actually allowed us to do a photo shoot in the Coliseum. Wow. I didn't go.
Oh,
I was like, no, I need to sleep. I need to get my rest. So Ronnie and all the other guys went, and just imagine those amazing photos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's timeless. And there's times where I've been other places like to Paris, and they're like, oh, we'll take you to see the Eiffel Tower. And I'm like, no, just take me to my hotel. I want to go to sleep.
That's not
so all that, even Dubai, I've been, twice. I've been to the Eiffel Tower, I'm not the Eiffel Tower, but the Burj Khalifa one time. I was ready to go. It's like, okay, that's it. But I just stay so focused on what I'm doing. So now I'm trying to learn to slow down and enjoy myself, because, hey, pops like you, I'm aware that I've been here longer than I'm going to be here. And,
absolutely.
That changes my mind frame.
Are you still to this day, do you find yourself still having issues with that part of it, the slowing down and just enjoying and soaking it all in? Is that still tough for you?
Yeah, it is. I really admire people who not attached to their cell phone. Like they would live out, no internet, and they're just happy and they're complacent, where I'm still now, with one leg, I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses. And, every day it's like, how can I better myself? How can I better my position instead of just like, come on, man, you've done enough. Slow down, and enjoy this. Yeah. So I'm still like that. But what I understand is I'm just that type of person. I have to accept that. I'm an A personality person. I'm highly driven. And, it's known that A personalities, we die earlier because we push so hard doing life. You know what I mean? So one of the hardest things I'm doing and I'm working on it still every day is just accepting me for who I am, who I am as far as my strengths, who I am as my weaknesses, accepting what I can't change and changing what I can't accept.
Yep. So I want to talk about your transition into bodybuilding. How did that start? And what age did you start and how did you actually get into bodybuilding?
Yeah, so I moved to Oakland to stay with my dad. And, karate's like really big back then in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Kung Fu. It was Kung Fu in the Bay Area, right? So, I asked him if I could start, taking martial arts lessons. And I did, and I started working out. He bought me the famous, 110 cement, weights.
Yeah.
with a concrete crack inside of it, all that stuff.
Shit dropping in your eyes and shit. Yeah.
So I used to just train in a garage, just back then it was about wearing 501s and Britannian shirts. So it didn't matter if you had legs, as long as you had chest, arms, and back, and everything else up top. It didn't matter. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So,
absolutely.
that's how I got into it. But what really set me on track again, it was Tyrone McGuire, my trainer, my Sifu. I was working out because our gym, our martial arts gym, was inside a fitness place where I trained at. So I would train, and then I'd go over and fight. And he started training with me, and I ended up winning the California Championship in '89. And then, that Sunday, I won the California Championship in fighting. And I was just like, so full of myself. I was like, man, nobody can hold me, man. I'm just hot, It's like, But I was like, I was confused. Like, what should I do? Because it was getting to a point where both of them were pulling so hard, and it started being a deficit on both of them.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, I was like, well, Ty, what should I do? And he goes, you do the one that chose you. I'm like, come on, man, give me an answer. He goes, you do the one that chose you. You don't choose these things. They choose you. You just got to understand and listen. I'm like, well, can you just tell me? He goes, man, bodybuilding chose you.
Wow.
And I'm like, how could you say that? Because I was an extremely good fighter. I mean,
yeah, I've seen some clips.
My gosh, I was something to behold, man. I mean, other rings would stop when I would train, when I would fight, to watch we fight, and I just loved it. I was just at the apex of my life, man. I just really understood who I was as a fighter, and I just, oh my God, I loved it, and I ended up having over 70 fights where I didn't even get scored on. Wow. That's how I started. I started playing with the sport where I would allow myself to get scored on twice, knowing that if they scored on me 3 times, the fight is over. So that made me fight harder. So I was like, how could you say that when I'm such a good fighter? Man. He goes, it's easy, man. Bodybuilders chose you. That's how you can make money. You can't make money in this. Because remember, back then, if you were a great fighter, if you got in a movie, whoever the star of the movie was would do a whole haymaker and knock you out. You do a bunch of flamboyant kicks to show that you knew something, and then you got knocked out, and that was it. So back then it was very disrespectful, martial arts movies, because we didn't get no respect as real fighters. So I took off of bodybuilding, man. I didn't look back. I ended up moving to Venice, Go's Gym, and started training and met Rico, which is a different story. I'd met him actually when I was 17 years old. We competed in Fresno at the Teenage Black America, AAU.
Oh, yeah.
You feel me, CT?
Yeah, absolutely.
AAU.
Yep.
And I ended up winning. And then, like I said, I ended up winning the California, and me and Ty went to Venice, because it's like, man, you got to go to Venice. You won in California. So I went to Venice like, wow, I'm just big-eyed and looking around. I hadn't seen Rico in over probably like 5 years, and we just seen each other from a distance in the gym. And he's just pointing. He was like, "Flex." I'm like, "Rico," and we just hit it off, man. We were inseparable from that point, and we were just on and popping. I just took that same mentality that I had from bodybuilding. I just applied it from martial arts and just applied it in bodybuilding.
So I've heard some legendary stories about Venice Beach and the training that goes on from Mr. Fletcher here. We had Craig Munson on. He talked about him training up there with Arnold and all that stuff. I never got
a chance to meet him, but man, I heard so many stories, and I kept missing him whenever he came in to Go's Gym. But I was just like, how could this be? I mean, how could a person be
sound
that
like
big, just the coke bottle on his chest and stuff like that. And, upper nest. We call it
upper nest. That's right.
Upper nest,
they don't know that about that upper nest.
Yeah, Craig Munson is even now at what was his Craig 70 something?
75. No, he's not 10 years old.
Yeah, even now Craig Munson is still.
He's naturally a big man.
Yeah, just
big frame.
Man,
got some of the biggest hands I have ever seen on a human being in my life. But looking back at some of the older pictures of Craig, like I'm always blown away when I look at him. It's like, how did this guy not shoot to the atmosphere? Like man is a giant. Like he is huge, but such a beautiful human being, a great man.
Mind frame. I mean, he was. Focused on other things. If he had took that same mind frame and applied it towards anything, he would have been great. Whether it been football, whether it been bodybuilding or anything, it's just that it's mine.
And he told that when we interviewed him, he told us on the show, he was like, I wasn't in the right mental space for this, and just certain things I didn't handle the right way. And, he said by his own admission that, he was the reason behind him not going to the next level with it, but just the man was a sight to behold. But from your standpoint, what was it like coming out to Venice and seeing all of these amazing bodies? Like, were you ever intimidated, or was that just driving you even harder to go as super hard?
I was intimidated. It was the era of Mike Christian, and all that stuff. And, I know Mike's story where he comes from as far as gangs and is legendary and stuff like that. It was amazing just to walk into Gold's Gym because it didn't matter. It was like a force field. Once you walked in there, whatever your superpower was outside just fell apart, and you were a normal person in there, and you had to realign yourself and respect where you were.
Yeah,
it was the days of if you talk trash, it's no going outside. We're gonna get it done right here.
Right here.
It wasn't about a bunch of garbage talk and stuff like that back, because somebody'd be really quick to pull your skirt up and see what color pants you had on, as we say back in the days. But it was just amazing because you would have some of the greatest A-lister actors walk through that door.
Yep, absolutely.
You'd have Jackie Joyner, Kobe Bryant, everybody walked through that door.
Reggie Jackson, all
everybody, man. It's just like it was just a who's who. So you really understood that this was a place to work. And there was no socializing, getting numbers or nothing like that. It was either working out or fighting. So, and back then, there was a lot of both going on.
So did you two ever run into each other at Venice, or when did you guys first meet?
I would see, we was in like two different worlds. So I would go to Venice just to gawk, to see Chris, Flex, and Paul Dillette. Rico, I knew Rico we worked out at the same gym for a while.
Yeah.
And he was just cool. He was just cool, He was to me, he was a kid. Hey, look at the youngster there, but he was, he was yoked. But I would go over there just to, I really go up there just to compare myself to these legendary cats, and that I'm watching in the magazine. I go up there on the weekends, and I'm seeing Flex and all these cats and Paul Litt in the magazines. I want to go up there and see, I want to see how compare my size to these cats that I'm watching in the magazine all the time. But no, we were in definitely different circles. We had the powerlifting circle and bodybuilding circle. But it was, I would go up. Me going to Gold's Gym on the weekend was just like a kid in the candy store. Like, God damn, hey, there's Flex. Hey, every time you look around, man.
It seems very surreal. Like I said, talking to CT about it, talking to Craig Munson about it. We had John Brown on as well. It just seemed like these legendary times up there that you had to be there. You just had to be there. If you weren't there, you're never going to really understand how amazing that time was.
And it was just a place to be. At any moment, somebody would walk through and point at you and say, "Come with me." And next thing you know, you're in a movie or you're in a commercial. It's just they used to come down the hills just to get guys and stuff like that. So it's like I said, it was just some amazing times. And I have memory of that. It's because I hadn't fully switched over into Flex Wheeler. I was still Kenny Wheeler, walking into the gym. I was still a puppy, walking into there, yeah.
So you talk about the persona of Flex Wheeler. When did that really kick off for you? When was that like, okay, I'm going into full Flex Wheeler mode? How deep into your bodybuilding career were you when you took that on?
Probably after I won the USA and I turned pro.
Okay.
Because back then ESPN had a show called American Sport Network.
Yeah.
We all, back at that time, we were all like celebrities, even though we weren't nobody. They made celebrities out of us from this show. Yeah. So, there was a lot of hype behind me because there was a lot of talk of my genetic predisposition, what I didn't understand, what that really meant or anything like that. So when I finally won the USA, it was actually written in a magazine that, Flex Wheeler turns pros and make the other pros shudder, and figure. I just that's when I started buying into stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, the first time that I could really take care of myself when I turned pro. Weeder gave me a contract right on stage, with H.U.M.A.N, and he's like, "Don't worry, you got a contract, kid." And it was the first time that I could actually fully take care of myself and buy my own car and stuff like that. So I just really start falling in. I really start believing the hype and all the lies and stuff like that, and I didn't look back. It was just fully Flex Wheeler. I just didn't look back. It was like, Flex was a guy who was protect, Ken Wheeler. If you upset me or something like that, I'll strike back and, like in anger, because I'm so scared that I got to be so vicious. It's similar to like what Mike Tyson said, before he retired. I remember him doing an interview saying that he couldn't even watch him fight because he's like, he didn't recognize who that person was. And that person, he feared that person because he was so different. He was so violent. He was so far removed away from that. He couldn't understand who that person was. And, that's kind of, where I went. I just kind of completely changed my model, and, it was full on, so if you did something to upset me, or if you read me, if I feel that you're reading me and you can read who Kenny Wheeler was, it was my job to throw you off. So maybe you're talking to me like, "Hey man, do you do this? Or you worry about this? Do you struggle with this?" My first thing would be to F you, man, so, or whatever, do something really violent to throw you off. Now it's a personal problem between us. You're no longer trying to read me because I disrespected you. And that's my whole job. It's like, hey, if I can get you off track and you not really read who I am and how insecure I am, then, hey, we're good.
I'm always amazed at, you brought up Mike Tyson. I was going to bring him up. How many people who have achieved so much greatness, but when you really dig deep into it, and as they get later on in life, they say, I operated out of fear. And you look at these people and you're like, you were one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. You were one of the greatest boxers of all time. You were one of the greatest football players of all time. And from the public standpoint, we look at you guys as indestructible. But deep down, you were operating out of fear. And that is so interesting to me to hear you say it, to hear Mike Tyson say it, and so many other people who, we put on these pedestals and say how great they were. But the whole time they were operating out of insecurity and fear. Like that's so amazing to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's the driving force behind a lot of us. I know back in my time, Victor Conti and Balco Laboratory was operating, and I got to know Victor Conti really well. We became really close friends, and obviously he worked with Barry Bonds and everybody, and he would come to the Olympia sometimes to watch me compete. And he'd be in my hotel suite and we'd be talking. And I just was brutally honest to certain people. And I'd let them know, like, man, I'm terrified. I'm scared of going on stage. And he's like, it's really interesting, Flex. So many high-level athletes like yourself struggle with that same thing. And he told me about Barry, and he told me, I'm like, what? Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
And I know you guys had like Terry Crews on your show.
Yeah.
I got to know Terry really well. We talk on the phone every once in a while and talked about our stories. And, him telling me like, I'm just like, it's hard to understand, this man being fearful of walking to school. Like, his thought was, do I get beat up, killed, or raped today?
Yeah.
And just, you look at that person and you're like, man, I mean, it'd be like, he put the fear of God in you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's really interesting. It's more like that and not. And like you said, it takes us to be deep into that lifestyle and to have walked away from it long enough for us to fully reveal who we really were and what was really triggering us. Because you can't ask an athlete, 5 years after they retire, because they're not there yet. Their eyes ain't open yet. You know what I mean? It takes a while for that to happen. And it's very interesting because you're right. More so than not, that's the story.
Yeah. Pops, I mean, was it as brash as you were in your younger day? Were you operating in the same mindset? And I asked that because you didn't strike me as being insecure about anything, fearful of anything.
But,
were you operating in kind of like what Flex was talking about?
Well, yeah, but see, like Flex said, years later, then I can tell the story of how, I'm afraid every fucking day. Whenever I hear my dad's keys in the door when he got home from work, I wish I could disappear. I wish I could just absolutely disappear. So I grew up in fear. I was fucking, born, bred, raised on that shit. So I was in fear every fucking day. So like Flex, I created a fucking monster, a sidewalk cracker. I am the one. I created that persona, and I never fucking again. I didn't give Flex. It was so bad. I didn't. If a motherfucker, touched me, and I'm gonna lose a bunch of fans, but I didn't give a fuck. If you put your hands on me first, you could be a woman, a monkey. I don't give a shit. If you put your hands on me first, I'm getting your ass. And and I built that force field like you did. You build a force field around and say, hey, never again. I ain't going through this bullshit no more. Fuck that.
Same thing. Like I said, I got beat up my whole childhood. I mean, one time I got beat up so bad by these two cats. I ran in my house and I hid under my bed. And my brother, who's almost like my twin, he ran in there, beat my ass, underneath the bed, and then ran out and beat both the other two cats' ass, But it was just when I started being, I was always a great fighter, and what I would do, I would invite the bullies to my martial arts school because, like I said, I couldn't click over and fight on the street. My thought was like, wow, what if I kick them and break their ribs? What if I break their nose? And I'm looking at different body parts where they hit me, and I'm like, I get there. And I was just like, okay, their punches don't hurt. Okay, I got a bloody eye, I got a black eye, whatever, but didn't hurt. I'm okay. And that happened. I mean, even so bad, I talk about this in my book, even so bad when I was in high school, this bully used to always beat me up. And literally, I'm in a shower and he walks over and just pees on me.
Oh, Lord, Jesus, help me. Yeah.
Man, and I was so adverse and fighting on the street. I just looked down. I was like, well, I'm in a shower anyway. So I just, just going to clean it up. But the next year, I clicked over.
Yeah.
And I seen him the first day of school, and he's like skipping towards me, like skip to my little, like, yeah, I remember you. And I'm like, yeah, I remember you. Bing, 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 bing. And it was like I had arrived, and that's when I started just not taking, but it's, I fully understand what you're saying, CT, because I didn't want, I would always say, even in fighting, I would always launch first. I'd always attack first because I didn't want to know what my opponent had to offer.
Absolutely.
I might not be able to handle what he has to offer me. So I need to still his heart within the first 30 seconds of my technique. So now that he's so worried about what I'm going to throw, he's not concentrating on his moves.
Yeah.
And because and it would be a few times where I would slip and, they would throw a really good take. I'm like, oh God, I didn't know he was that good. Now I'm thinking about what he's about to do. And I'm like, how do I reverse that? But I was the same way on the streets. So it's like, no, it's like, you can't touch me. You can't even talking. I'm going to even be violent in my talking. I would try to spur you on. If you were just talking, I'd be like, what are you trying to date me? What are you, gay? What do you want to bang me out? And I would just say the most violent things to try to trigger this person to attack so I could launch at them. But it's really, again, for me, it just really all came from just really being in fear and just understanding that I'm protecting this guy who just got his ass handed to him, his whole life. It was just a protective mode that I got into.
I got to ask you that. Time is going real fast. I got to ask you this though before time run out because it's going fast. Flex Wheeler, the Sultan of Symmetry, one of the greatest physiques in history. You created this monster, and one day, all of that shit is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Flex Wheeler laying in a hospital bed, body racked with fucking pain. How did you persevere, or how are you persevering through that?
Just my Father in heaven.
Woo! Great answer.
I just accept whatever he asks for me. I understand now that as a kid, being suicidal, first time I tried to take my life, I was just like 13 years old. Wow. And then throughout my entire career, I would try to take my life. I would shoot my gun in my house. I would drive super fast.
This even at the height of your career?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
I lived in a 7-story house in Venice Beach, and I would come in my house and just try to take my life. And but I understand now that I was allowed, and I'm allowed now to go through all these things because CT is like we come from the streets. Dude, you don't know where I come from. You don't know what it's like, man. Get up, get out of here. I'm gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
So it's no arena that I can't walk into and be comfortable. I can walk into a transplant. I can walk into back surgery. I can walk in and be in a room with people who try to commit suicide. I can walk in a room with millionaires. I could walk in a room with people who file bankruptcy. I could walk in a room to people with suicide. I could wear so many different hats. And only through that, because I've been through those things, can I now reach down and speak to a person who's been through that. And that's like what we're doing with Sons of the Beast and Humans.
Yep.
And that's the reason why we can sit on that panel. Because the amount of people who sit on that panel, every conversation is covered.
Yeah.
We might not be able to get to everyone, but between all of us, there ain't nothing you can ask one of us that we're going to be able to tell you a true, authentic story. And when we do that, that person or whoever has been through that in the audience, we don't know who it is, but it resonates because they're like, oh, they really know.
You're speaking to me. Absolutely.
Yep. And speaking of that, there will be another panel January 25th and 26th at the LA Fit Expo. Flex, you'll be there. Pops, you'll be there.
Definitely.
Just so everybody knows, the LA Fit Expo is also sponsoring the F Y'all podcast. So we will be there representing the podcast. So just wanted to put that out there for,
nice.
We just got that information back here a few days ago. So LA Fit Expo we appreciate that.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations. I'll try to stop through.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. They're going to have me kind of like their roving reporter. So hopefully I can get a couple of minutes of your time just talking to everybody and getting some good footage. Go ahead, Pop.
And I wanted to,
thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to say to Flex, my brother, we've talked on the phone. We prayed on the phone together. I want to let you know, my brother, that even being this fantastic bodybuilder and a fantastic fighter, right now, you are stronger than you ever were. Right now, you are stronger than you ever were, my brother. And you're going to help so many people because everything that happened, the suicide attempts, everything that ever happened to you made you who the fuck you are right now. And you're going to help so many fucking people. Even you are so powerful right fucking now. More powerful than ever. Built better right fucking now than you ever were. And you're my fucking hero.
Damn.
I appreciate you, and you're right. Like I said, we had these conversations so many times. You in a hospital, I'm in a hospital, and being very much aware of our, the clock is ticking, even to the point where we had conversations like, man, we need to hurry up and do this before something happened to one of us, pass through. So CT, I feel the same way about you. I remember when I reached out to you, I think it was on Facebook, because you had did that video about, hey, it's still your mother set, and just, I remember you responding, and just, I was like, so like on top of cloud nine that you even knew who I was.
Please. That's what I was thinking.
I'm serious.
Rex Wheeler knows me.
I'm just serious. I'm like, you even knew who I was. And then finally, when we met at the Arnold Classic, I mean, just, I feel the same way about you. And you know it. I mean, your ability to touch people, and you can only touch those people. I can't touch the people you touch because your story is different. It's relatable only to those people. So the same thing, I know you've helped people. I know you've saved people's lives, and I know you still are. And just you being authentic, you being open about your surgery and those videos and everything. Hey, somebody that don't have a platform or anything seen those videos, and it inspired them, and it helped them to be able to fight. And I know it have. And I just pray that you're able to continue doing that, because you inspire me, what you're going through. It's still just talking to you now. When I'm around you, man, I'm trying to control myself, because I'm like, I'm such a fan, and I'm so in awe. And when we charismatically call you Pops, man, it's because you've earned that respect. You earned that.
Well, I tell people all the time, you talk about those people that this man has motivated and helped, you looking at one of them. I went through my own health issues, and just to be able to call this man and have him walk me through certain things in life, and as these years pass, like, it was very weird for me early on being around him. Like I said, we would go to these expos and just see the effect that he had on people. Like I said, I always tell the story, just seeing these big, buff, grown men in tears, just crying, like, CT, you saved my life. You helped me through this. But having that own experience for myself, like, and even for you, like, sometimes I wonder, like, do you guys really understand how powerful just you being here and how many people you've helped just with your story and all of that stuff? I hope one day that the two of you can really understand how instrumental you are to people just getting up in the morning and doing something and being their authentic selves, because they get to watch you guys, everything you guys have been through, and to still be here. Because so many people went through way less than you guys have went through and aren't here anymore. But there's a reason you guys are still here. God still has plans for you guys. I tell him that all the time. I'll tell you all the time. I'll tell you the same thing. Like, your stories are so powerful, and it's an honor to know this, man. It's been a pleasure getting to know you as well. But you guys, I hope one day you really can grasp how amazing you guys truly are and how beneficial you are to so many people's lives out here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's, it just comes easy. I'm just on autopilot. Sometimes people ask me, like just now, how do you go through that? How do you deal with it? I'm like, I just don't know no other way other than just to go forward. And it's just so normal. Like, I failed. Okay, well, dust myself off and keep walking. or I lost my leg. It's like, okay, well, figure it out and keep it moving.
Yeah.
And again, it's just, I truly understand there's a bigger thing going on here.
Yep.
And that's him.
Yep.
And just trying to be open and being a vessel.
Yep.
That I could be used for him and for his works.
Yeah.
So, and that's all I really care about. At the end of the day, I don't really care to know who I helped or all those things or my achievements or what my bank account is or how big my house is. I just want him to know who I am.
I am so, like, we've had so many people on this show. You brought up Terry Crews and all of these people, and to hear them talk and some of the gems that they throw out are so similar to this man I'm sitting next to. And so I'm always blown away about, you guys come from different worlds, but your mindsets and your philosophies are so similar. And it is very interesting to watch, kind of being on the outside looking in. All right, before we get out of here, I cannot let you go without touching on your rivalry with Ronnie Coleman. You brought him up, and I know you said you don't remember a lot from those days, and I don't know, would you call it a rivalry? Because what you and Ronnie did was very special, but would you look back on it, do you call it a rivalry?
Yeah, I guess, but we were true friends. We are true friends. And I remember, Ronnie is so incredible. Even to this day, he travels the world and he tells a story like how I helped him. And I'm like, man, you don't got to do that, Ronnie. And he's like, yeah, I do. Yeah. And sometimes we'll be somewhere and he'll just stop the whole show and like, hey, this man here is the reason why. And I'm like, so a rivalry as, we want to beat each other and probably me more because he beat me more than I beat him. But, yeah, definitely. But, I mean, he would stay at my house getting ready for the Olympia sometimes.
Wow.
So it was just, I just have to say it was just, it was an honor to stand on stage. I mean, I got to stand on stage and do serious battle. But one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, he'll go down as the greatest, man.
But he has also labeled you on it. He put you on his on his Mount Rushmore, and said you were better than him.
Yeah, it's the truth is, I understand that that gift of winning the Olympia would have caused me to lose my life. I was too wild. I was too reckless. Even the power that I had of walking around, I was hard to handle. And even my boys would be like, man, it's hard being around you. You're just so full of it, I think I'm really very aware that I would have took my life because, like I said, I was already struggling and trying to take my life. Yeah. And with that much more power, I truly feel that, again, my Father in heaven knew, what he was doing. It's just like us. We all have kids. Yeah. And as kids, we understand, like, okay, it ain't okay for baby to go over there and stick a needle in, and to the socket. Or you can't let a little kid drive, because it's too dangerous. Well, that child don't know why you pulling back and not allowing them to. They might be even angry about it. But And now I'm more than aware. Nah, man, I wouldn't have been able to handle that there. Nah.
And you actually took my next question from me because I was going to ask you, looking back on it, not winning the Olympia, how did that affect you not having that title? And even because there's a clip I want to play. And Solomon, if you go ahead and cue that clip up, it's from the 1999 Mr. Olympia. And I just want to play this clip because I want to know what was going through your brain because your body language was saying it all. So we'll play this clip real quick.
The check, the certificates, the 2 silver medals will be presented to Flex Wheeler.
All right, Solomon, you can cut it there. So the one thing, the two things stood out to me in that was the very, very loud boos from the crowd that you didn't win, and just your body language. So I know you, looking back on it now, you saying you winning was probably beneficial for you, but at that particular moment in time, what is going through your brain?
No, I'm angry,
Yeah.
and you know, it was almost probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because the year before, Ronnie had beat me in 98, and it was like written that my name was already on the trophy, and he came from behind, and he ended up getting me, and he won by I think it was 2 points. So I trained really hard that year. I actually put on 17 pounds of contest muscle.
Yeah.
The judge's decision doesn't mirror my work. And I realized that I'm not going to allow someone else to make me think that I'm less than what I am. And I feel, I'm like, no, I'm a champion. Mm-hmm. And I took those off, and I'm like, I can't be chained down by these second places, because no, I'm a champ. So I got to take them off.
Yeah. And
I'm like, you know, these represent number 2, but no, I'm number 1. And just because you guys say that, don't make me think so. And then I turned around and I gave Ronnie a hug. I was like, bro, you know, I love you, man. And, you know, I'm not going to be at your party tonight, right? You know, because obviously I don't want to make him feel uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, there I am. I'm sitting all disappointed and he happy. So, but that was back in a time where I was still full of myself and I wasn't aware. You know, I wasn't enlightened as I am now. I hadn't been through life. And I still thought that it was something that was obtainable. But by him winning by a perfect score and me closing a distance on him so much, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. That's no longer ever going to be an option for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to be able to obtain that, because if they would have said, oh, he won by 1 point, I would have probably went back and went even harder. It took more years off my life. Yeah. But because they were like, no, he perfectly beat you. And I'm like, perfectly? Like, toes and everything?
Yeah.
You know, so it really helped me to understand, like, wow, okay, that door is closed. And I just reset my mind, like, okay, I was just honest. I was like, listen, my job is to hold down second. You know, he got that locked in. I can't go and get that. So I'm going to lock down second place and hold that down. So that was my mentality back then.
And the reason I wanted to bring that up, as I was researching you, I didn't realize that there is a lot of debate and a lot of controversy behind that, because a lot of people feel like you were unfairly judged and you should have won, clearly by the loud boos in the building. So, and again, I know you made peace with this, but do you feel like you were unfairly judged during that particular event?
You know, I will say this. I know a lot of judges since then have said, hey, you know, you're uncrowned Mr. Olympia.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I'll look at them and I'll be like, what do you mean by that? You know, because you judged me.
Yeah.
So what are you really saying when you say that? And they'll just look at me and just like, you know, give me a look like you should know. But
wow.
No, one thing I also was aware of is I left the Weider organization 17 days before the Olympia. Oh. And I wasn't aware of the possible power that he had over the title. Now, historically, there's never been a non-Weider athlete to win the Mr. Olympia other than Lee Haney.
Wow.
When he had won 7 times. When he won his 8th, he wasn't a Weider athlete, but how are you going to take it away from him? Yeah. But you notice he only came back once. He didn't come back no more. So that was also like a lot of the debate, because like I said, he was quite a few points below me, and he didn't even get called out in our prejudging rounds against me at all, because he was in a few call-outs later on. So he never even got matched up against me in our lineup. So that's how far I was ahead of him. So, you know, they said he won the posing round and the pose down round, and I was like, how's that possible when I'm known to be one the best poses in history. That's not how he's going to close the gap. But if you look at it mathematically, you know, me and Ronnie took a taxi after the Olympia prejudging back to the hotel together. And he's like, wow, man, you know, Joe came up and said hi to me. I'm like, cool, Ronnie, you know, he should. He goes, no, man, you don't understand. I've been a pro longer than you, Flex. Joe ain't even ever said hi to me.
Wow.
You know, he did a photo shoot with me and all this stuff. And this was after prejudging. Well, Ronnie had just left Metrex and he was an open contract. And I signed with a rival company. So me and Ronnie actually took a taxi back to the Olympia after for the night show. And he's like, man, Joe offered me a contract. I was like, damn, Ronnie, take that. You know, so little that I know the writing was on the wall. So there's only 2 categories left. And he would have to perfect score me to even edge me out by those points. So, you know, but at the end of the day, what does it really matter? The right thing happened, you know, and that's him winning. And, you know, he's a multiple 8, time champion. And, you know, I'm honored to be able to say, man, I've done like fierce battle. It's not like I got my ASS handed to me. We went at it.
Yeah.
We remained friends the whole time and still is to this day.
Yeah. All right, Pops, I know you want to...
Who had the lowest body fat percentage? I've heard some really... You know, I heard that you had 0. Is that true?
Yeah, mine was point 0.4, I think it was. And back then, you got to understand, you know, it was a skin graft we used. So I still carried a lot of water. So it would be high and they'd just hold it there and it would just continue to click down. But I know I seen an interview where he was saying how low his was.
Yeah.
And that was the first time me ever hearing that. But I tell you what, because I was more rounder than him, I carried more body water. It didn't really matter. Like women, they can never get our body fat down to as low as men. But you see how shredded they are now. So it's not really so much how low your body fat is, it's how much sub-Q body fat you have between the muscle and the skin. Allow that separation to flow through. And if it's on that point, he had me because, I mean, he was absolutely peeled. I mean, man, he was peeled.
So were you.
Yeah. So I know you said you never got caught up in the hype, but I did see Arnold Schwarzenegger said you were one of the greatest bodybuilders he's ever seen.
Yeah,
like
that's probably one of the...
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how did that make you feel hearing somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger say that about you?
I mean, you got to understand, I know he's different now, but when he made that statement, he was still very much an actor. He was still very much full on. So he was still a competitor. He was a competitor with acting, you know, against Stallone and everything. So he never admitted defeat in no way. So for him to say that and to even put me over him, I was like, man, you know, hey, listen, I don't got an Olympia title, but I got this statement from the greatest, you know, and more so, I cherish that. I cherish what my foes say. I cherish what my competitors, the guys that I competed against, their thoughts about me, because I don't even know where a lot of my Olympia medallions are. I don't even know where they're at.
Really?
You know, embarrassing. I see a lot of the guys, they're all nice on a wall, and I don't even know where mine are at. Because I never really competed for the title or for the medallion. I competed because of that represented amount of paycheck. And like I said, I came from nothing and I got into bodybuilding. Why? Because of money. And I always competed. So I understood my placing. If I'm ranked number 2 in the world, then I can go anywhere as long as Ronnie ain't there, and I'm going to make bank. And so it was always, that's the reason why I competed. And I was also paid to compete. So it was always a money thing. And even though people say, hey, it's a sport, no, it was my job.
Yeah.
It was my job. Okay, it was a sport, but no, it was my job, man. It's fully I took care of my family, even still to this day.
Yeah.
So it was all about money. And I just, I never looked at it that way whatsoever as far as trophies and everything like that. I mean, they're collecting dust. But the respect that a person gives me lives forever on within that individual or those individuals. That lives on every time they see me or talk. That lives on. My trophy, you see me get it, or my medallion once, you see that. And unless it's a video, you don't see that no more.
Yeah. All right. So before we get out, I definitely want to touch on the Sons of Beast, but and again, these interviews go by so fast. Like it's so much that I want to get into. But what is life like for Flex Wheeler these days? Like, what's a typical day like for you?
Wow. Well, I'm still, and I don't know if I ever will, but I'm still trying just to get used to, being an amputee. It's just, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's just, it's really painful to walk. So a lot of times I just don't do anything. I just stay at home. If family come and they want to go walk, down in Vegas, I say, okay, I'll be here when you get back. Or, it's like whenever I have an event, my first thought is wow, I got to walk. Yeah. And that's going to be painful. And I don't know if you've been through this, Pops, but also just the transition of not just being just a beast anymore. How my clothes fit different, how I'm inferior now. Where before I felt I was inferior, I was unbreakable. You couldn't touch me, man. You couldn't get with me with nothing. Now I'm so aware that I'm not that person. So I'm really trying to accept the things that happen and learn to live with them. I put my father first in everything I do. I'm really humbled by that, and I'm thankful that he loved me enough to discipline me all these years. And still give me an opportunity instead of turning his back on me. My nutrition company, Flex Wheeler Nutrition, pushing that, pushing the companies that I represent, Uprising and stuff like that. Still trying to be marketable, and still trying to reinvent myself because, what I did on stage, those days are over with. So I have to continuously reinvent myself, like popping his podcast. Just help him, just change direction because he's reinventing himself. So that, and then, most of all, just really being aware of the mental trauma that life has dealt me, and how I've operated, not being aware of the self damage that I've done, or what I've been through. So just really trying to be like completely open, so that hopefully if somebody's going through the same thing I'm going through, maybe they'll listen to my story and drink from my cup instead of having to drink from their own, and learning those things. So just being open about life, being open about being suicidal, helping people to understand that, hey, being mental and having mental issues don't mean that they're going to put a white coat on you, because I always knew that I had problems.
Yeah. And this is why it's so important, and it's a perfect transition to go ahead and end the show, but talk about Sons of Beast and why that organization is so important. I've been able to kind of work on the back end of it, helping Don out and helping Kong and CT out on some stuff on the back end. But to be a part of some of these panels and see the effect that you guys are having, especially on men. And we are so very leery about sharing our mental health struggles and all of that stuff. So real quickly, I said we gotta wrap, but I just want to, from your standpoint, why is being a part of Sons of Beast so important, and what is your vision for that going forward?
Well, so it's so important because I'm with like-minded individuals, and I lean on them. When I hear their stories, it reminds me and rebets me in mind. It's so important for men to stand up and to be honest about what we're going through, because as a man, we're taught, oh, you don't cry, you don't do this, and that's so wrong. That's building weak men. and it's catching on now. I'm seeing so many other people talk about it. I seen a video where The Rock was talking about it. I seen, a video where Deion Sanders was talking about he tried to take his life. So people, we're being honest about what we're going through. And where I see this going is hurt people, help hurt people. Mm-hmm. It takes someone hurt to have known what they're going through to be able to reach down and help out another hurt person. So I'm so proud to be a part of this movement, Sons of Beasts and Humans, and what we're doing. I'm so honored that we're starting now to be accepted in our own arenas where we can talk and we can reach louder our audience and stuff like that. And I just think it's, I have no idea how far this is going to go, but I know it's going to catch on and be like wildfire.
Yep. So, perfect way to end the show. We also want to let you guys know the Sons of Beast raffle is still going on. So if you go to sonsofabeast.org, you can enter the raffle there for a chance to win a flight for two out to LA, be a part of Iron Wars on January the 24th. Also VIP access to the LA Fit Expo. We also get to hang out with Mr. CT Fletcher, Flex Wheeler, Midwest Kong, Julius Maddox, TD Smash. Also, you also get to be a special guest on the F Y'all podcast as well. So it's a lot going on. Oh, and excuse me, the biggest part, $1,000 gift card. So make sure you go to sonsofabeast.org, enter there for your chance to win. The drawing will be December the 31st. Pops, before we get out of here, any closing remarks for the listeners and Mr. Flex Wheeler before we wrap?
Soul to the Symmetry, my brother, love you. Thank you for being on the show.
All right.
Love you, man. Thank you for everything you've been through, your openness. Wow. Just your story about your dad, it resonates. But you know what? You wouldn't be the great man you are right now if it wasn't for that, man.
Amen.
All right. We're going to end this show like we do every show.
Fuck y'all.